Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 32 of the Bar Restaurant Breakthroughs podcast, where Dave Allred and I are going to discuss the top 5 reasons bars and restaurants fail. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you kind of take this one away. I know the last few episodes we've done, I've kind of got started with everything, but I want you to kind of just dive into this, and I'll just chime in whenever needed.
Okay. So when we talk about the top 5 reasons bars fail, there could be some controversy in this. Some people fail for other reasons. I'm going to go over kind of a top 5. I'm going to leave out a couple of them. I'm going to leave out location, even though that's one of the top ones, because I assume that you're in the location that you're going to be in right now. You're not going to take a helicopter and pick up your bar and move it somewhere else. And I'm going to leave out financial backing, which is one of the big ones. If you don't have enough financial backing to make it through some tough times, you will go out of business. But I'm assuming that you have some financial backing and all that. And also, before I kind of get going on that top 5 list, we'll kind of count it down Letterman style. But talking about, in this whole process this whole show that me and Nick are doing here to, promotions and make your bar better and putting in systems and all that, really what it's all about is modeling. And, me being successful in my business, and I know Nick's probably the same way, looking at other people and modeling what they have done, it's simply a recipe and following what they've done. So what we're trying to do is lay out some things that have worked for us and worked for some other people. And it's simply a recipe. We know that I'm not going to be a great chef, but if I followed a recipe by Julia Childs or Rachel Ray or whoever, I could probably make a pretty damn good cake as long as I followed it to the letter. I'm never going to be them, but you can do the same thing in business by simply modeling exactly what other people are doing. And, Nick's promotions are great. They've proven success. Model what he does, it's going to happen. I run Bar Patrol, I run the inventory management. We save a lot of money, but you actually have to take the action to make it happen. So I'm going to talk about the top 5 things that cause bars to fail, and you need to look at that and see if that's a reason that your bar might be going downhill. Can we fix it? And go ahead and model some of these things that we're trying to help you with. Do you have any thoughts on that, Nick?
No, I'm good. Let's dive in. I'll chime in whenever needed. And just for anybody who might be new listening to this, I almost did go bankrupt 8 months of owning my first bar. So I've gone through 2 different roller coasters owning my bar of doing really well and also failing. And I've learned a lot over the years. So I'll be able to give some good advice on, I'm sure, your top 5 list that you have here, Dave.
Awesome. So we'll start at number 5. So number 5, no systems in place. We talked a little bit about this in the past episode. We touched on it lightly. This is straight out of Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. If you haven't read it yet, go get it. It's awesome. It will inspire you to put systems in your business. And I think you'll hear Nick and I talk about it quite a bit. Nick touched on it, I think, in the first episode about working on your business instead of in your business. The difference being working in your business means you're taking care of daily tasks. You're doing all sorts of menial labor and work to get tasks done, but the business is never really improving. And working on your business means you're working on systems, you're working on making it more efficient. I actually have a course coming out soon called Systemize Your Bar, in which we look at each area of your bar and we try to systemize it. And that means you're putting in standards and rules for the employees so they know exactly what to do. There's no ambiguity. When you go out there and say, this is the way we do things, block A, block B, block C. And I always kind of wished in my business someone would have just kind of told me what to do. It took me a couple of years to get it up and off the ground, and I was kind of figuring out myself. I wanted someone to say, hey, just do this, and I would go do it. So that's what you're telling your employees to do. This is what we do. You need to go execute it. And so when Systemize Your Bar comes out, it's all about hiring and training your employees, systemizing that, systemizing your finances, systemizing your inventory, systemizing your marketing, which I'm going to have Nick help me out with that. He doesn't know that yet, but his systems are some of the best in the world, so I'm going to steal those from him right off the bat.
Not a problem.
Let's go into number 4. Number 4 is poor employee training. And it's kind of stems from what we just talked about and having those standards in place. But if you don't train your employees and have a good system in place for that, nothing's going to come through for you. Your servers are just going to go to the tables. They're going to do their own thing. They're out taking smoke breaks. If you haven't set this culture and told them exactly what to do, if they're not knowledgeable on the menu, if they're not upselling, if they're not making sure they're doing everything they can to get the guests to come back and have a great experience again, you're going to fail because they don't have those standards in place. Roger Bodwin has a great training program. I've been kind of working with him on how to do this. It's been highly successful. So one of the best things you can do is make sure that you have a system in place to train your staff and make sure they know exactly what you expect from them at all times.
One thing I want to add to that too that has really helped me over the last 4 years or so, I think we've been doing this, is we do a monthly meeting with our staff. And I do it where it's not mandatory, but I ask them to show up and be there. And they don't get paid. I tell them, hey, I'll take care of food and drinks afterwards if you want to, but this is a way to build the team. And if you want to show that you care, and whatnot, show up. You don't have to be here, but I expect people here who want to better themselves. I take care of my employees. I got great relationships with everybody. And when we sit down at a meeting, the very first thing that I go through after I kind of go through some housekeeping type stuff and just what's up and coming and what have you, I was asking, what can I do better as the owner leader? What can I do better to make your jobs easier? Are there any things that seem out of line that you're confused on or anything? And people speak up. And by doing this and making the meeting based around them and how I can better help them, kind of just changes the mindset. Instead of me pointing the finger saying, you're doing this shit wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're horrible, like a lot of owners do. The reason why a lot of those things are not being done correctly is because of, like you said, no systems in place, or poor employee training. But I think if bar owners could set a goal to just have a monthly meeting with their staff, and if you're worried about, paying them, you could do what I do. However, in the long run, you're going to solve more problems than not by paying for your employees to be there for this monthly meeting, because everyone's going to do a much better job. They're all going to be on the same page, and they're going to give your customers a much better experience walking in the door. But I think just that one thing, have a monthly meeting with your staff and go through these little trainings. Like just this last one, I've noticed some of our bartenders pouring beer with no head on it. I went through and showed them all how to pour beer this last Saturday of, how to pour a beer with head, whether if the glass was really cold or if it wasn't that cold. It's different depending on how you're pouring it, with if it's a cold glass, warm glass. But it's just, you think it's common sense to us as owners, which it is, but it's not to people who are not, the actual owners or the managers. So that's just one quick thing I wanted to throw out there to go in with reason 5, number 4. That's made a big difference in my business by just getting with the staff once a month, communicating, with everybody there at the same time.
A great point. Communication is huge, and I love the feedback thing too. Getting the feedback from your employees so they're not frightened at saying something because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. You'll never find out what's really going on, and your workers know what's going on more than you do. They're the ones that are in the trenches, so you need to find out from them what's going on, so you really can adjust your training. So when new people come in, you can make it better.
Awesome. Number 3.
Number 3. No measuring, no monitoring, or following up. And this is a big deal at Bar Patrol. This is one of the main crux of my business, is making sure that we're monitoring what's going on. I would walk into a lot of bars. I've walked into hundreds of bars and helped bars, and I don't do it as much anymore. But they would always bitch about all the problems they're having or the money they're losing. And there was absolutely no measuring or monitoring or following up at all. And, there's a saying that says, if you don't measure it, you can't monitor it. And if you're not monitoring it, how do you expect to hit your standards and benchmarks? And why the hell are you even in business if you don't know what your standards and benchmarks are? So I kind of took that complaining. I said, this is what we need to do. Obviously at Bar Patrol, we're all about inventory. So we track the inventory, we monitor it, we see where it's going. And everyone thinks of the bar and restaurant industry as a service industry, which it is, just about every business is. But really, when you look down at the nuts and bolts, it's also an inventory business, just like 7-Eleven or Walmart. We are buying products, we're selling products. And if we're just letting the bartenders or whoever just, let that money go out the door, it's just a huge waste. And so it's not only in inventory management. You need to make sure you're tracking and monitoring everything in your bar. Is a salad going out with wilted lettuce on it? You need to make sure you're not just letting that go out. Make sure that we're monitoring the quality of the food we're bringing in, the pricing that we're doing. Every metric in your bar, you need to make sure that you're making sure what's going on and then following up to make sure you improve it. You're always talking about execution.
Yeah, well, one thing that I like to do is a follow-up system, which is a follow-up system through marketing, is we have a loyalty program, so we send out an offer once a month to our customers, and there's an ID number attached to each one of those. And when they come in and use that, it tags them in our system. 24 hours later, an email's going to them saying, "Hey, Bob, it's Nick from Casey's. I saw you came in yesterday, used your monthly offer. I just wanted to follow up with you. How was the service? How was the food? Is there anything we can do better?" So I'm following up with customers, and I get a lot of great feedback, and I get some negative feedback. Now, if I didn't get that negative feedback, I couldn't fix it in my business. I could potentially lose that customer. So having follow-up systems with customers, or even just your follow-up system could be when they're done paying their bill, walking to their table and asking them. So it doesn't have to be an automated process like I have, but another just simple follow-up system is just having a manager, having the owner go to these tables when they're done, or the bar, if they're sitting at the bar, and just saying, "Hey, how was everything?" And just getting their feedback. So that's a great one with number 3, because you get a lot of value.
That's huge with the follow-up, and that's like a customer service thing too, right? And that should be put right into your customer service with your servers, following up all times during their meal as well. Super important with customer service, absolutely.
Number 2,
poor marketing, right up Nick's alley. So I know that everyone is, and with marketing can be very vague, right? You're not sure what your return on your money is. A lot of people will just throw their money at something because someone comes in and says, "Hey, I can help you do this." So who can you trust is the big question when you throw your money at marketing. So a lot of people just quit, right? We're not going to market anything. We're just going to get people to come in, word of mouth, or they might throw an ad in a newspaper or something like that because they're not quite sure who to trust, who's behind the product. It's why I really do love Nick's programs here. It's not just because we're working together. It's why I'm working with him is how amazing it is. And what I really want people to think about is marketing not as an expense, which is the way most people think of marketing, but as an investment, right? One has a negative connotation with expense, but investment means you're getting money back. And that's what you need to think about when you're putting money into marketing is getting that money back.
Exactly. If you do it right, there's a lot of marketing out there that, I'll just throw my 2 cents. If you're marketing like I used to do and just putting out your logo, your specials, your prices, and trying to hit the masses, and you have no clue whatsoever if people are walking in your door from that, whether if it's TV, radio, newspaper, you're going to lose your ass. You're going to waste a lot of money. What I like to focus more on is lead generation, where you're spending money on ads and you're getting people to hand over information for an offer. Then that way you can actually track the redemption. Or if you put something in the newspaper, put an offer in there, see how many redemptions you get back. What were the total sales? What did you spend on the ad? Was it successful or not? If it was, run it again. If it wasn't, come up with a different offer, come up with a different image, whatever it may be. But just be able to track and measure your results with your marketing, because if you're not, you don't know if it's working or not. And if I can guarantee, if you knew for a fact that you were losing $1,000 a month on your advertising, you would stop spending it. But you don't know if you can't track it with redemptions, or call-ins, or reservations, or whichever way. But there has to be some kind of redemption process to track your marketing. If not, it's a waste of money. However, if you're just posting to social media or specials and you're not paying for ads, that's okay to do. You got to keep your page current, right? But if you're doing paid advertising, make sure you could track it in some way. And I'm not talking about views, likes, clicks, and shares. I'm talking about money back in your doors. So that's a great one with poor marketing. We'll do future episodes on that as well. I mean, that's a lot of different episodes to go through, but I'll let you jump into reason.
Well, that goes right back to number 3, which is monitoring and tracking. And you can do it in marketing, and people just don't. They just try to throw something out there and hope for the best. And that goes back to what we were just talking about with tracking all the results, so you can actually make smart business decisions with the metrics that come in. So the other thing I love about what Nick's doing is, we talk about who you're going to trust in marketing. You want to look at the person behind the marketing plan, and Nick has just case study after case study of all these successes from other bar owners. He's not just throwing out some ambiguous thing. He has actual results from all these bar owners, and he has a guarantee behind it. So it's your choice whether it's working or not. It's not me or Nick saying, in our opinion, it's working. You get to decide if it's working or not. And if it is, great, and if it's not for you, that's fine too. But now it's your choice. It's in your court instead of someone else deciding for you if you need to spend the money. So I love the no risk guarantee on that as well.
Number one,
drum roll, is poor management. And all of this stuff we're talking about kind of falls under this umbrella of none of it's going to work if you have poor management. And right, if you watch Bar Rescue, it's loud and dramatic for the theatrics of the show. And I think Bar Rescue does this on purpose. I think they spot the bars that have the worst managers, because you always get some moron in there who's running the show, who's sitting at the bar or he's shooting pool. He's almost always drinking, and just
it's not 100% true. I know that.
What's that?
All of it is not 100% true. You got to do that for TV, you know.
Well, of course. And you got Topper yelling. It's kind of like, what's his name on the cooking shows. It makes for great dramatics. But
Hell's
what it all comes down to is that common denominator is all those bars failing always come down to the guy running it usually.
Yeah.
It's not just the bar itself. And so when you have the guy drinking or he's flirting with the girls, no leadership involved, no matter what systems we're talking about here, what marketing, anything, any tips that we're given in any of these episodes, if you don't have someone, if you don't go out and execute it and your managers don't go out and execute it, it's all worth shit. So poor management really comes down to the number one reason why bars fail, is because you can have all the ideas and all the promotions in the world, but if you have a crappy manager who's just sitting at the bar and he's not making sure the employees are doing what they're supposed to do or the promotions are running right, it all goes to shit.
Yeah, and one thing I'll throw out there too is just, you know, how do you learn to become a better manager? Google it, find books, read as much as you can on how to be a better leader, how to be a better manager. And if you have a manager and you expect him to run your business the way that you want it run and treat your customers the way you treat them and to treat your staff the way that you treat them, you're not going to get someone at 10, 12 bucks an hour. The more you spend on a good manager, the better the job that they're actually going to do. And I'm not saying find a piece of shit manager who's worthless and pay them 20, 25 or whatever kind of salary. You know, you're going to have to go find those right people. And I just feel like you know when you have a good manager or not, just from your gut instinct of talking with them, working with them. And if you see someone's not doing a good job, reach out to somebody else. But if you try to be cheap on your manager, you're going to keep having issues. A good manager is an investment, like we just talked about. It's not a cost. It's an investment that in the long run is going to make you more money. I would be lost without Rodney right now. You know, he does a great job. He gets paid very well. He's probably one of the top paid managers in our area. But it's worth it to me because I don't have to worry as much. And, you know, I spend 2-3 hours a week working on Casey's, my bar, where the rest of the time I'm doing stuff with Bar Restaurant Success and clients and traveling, doing whatever, being with my family. I wouldn't be able to do that if I did not invest into him. So it's kind of a big lesson. Don't be cheap on that. It's an investment. And if you're figuring out how to train your managers better, you know, learn as much as you can. Get them books. Give them materials that are going to better them. And have them, you know, have them read a book a month on leadership and management. It'll go a long way, and I suggest everybody else does that too. I've been trying to do at least one book every other month about leadership and management and systems.
You know, it's a good point. And I think, you know, the more knowledgeable you are about any subject or the more skilled you are at anything, you know, my dad always told me, the better you are at something, the more fun it is. And that's true whether, you know, like I played basketball or you're playing checkers, you know, no one likes to suck at anything. And the better you get at it and the more knowledgeable you get, the more skills you get, the more fun it becomes actually running a bar and being a leader. If you don't know how to do it, it really sucks and you're not passionate about it. But like Nick said, you get educated on it, you know what you're doing, all of a sudden you feel like a leader. It's going to be a lot more fun for you too, and you're going to have a lot more success.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome, Dave. Well, I appreciate it, bud. Great episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.